Production of rabbit meat is a business as old as the rabbit itself, dating back more than 3,000 years. Despite this long lineage, commercial demand for the rabbit today is limited to research facilities and buyers of specialty meats. Rabbit production is often a hobby or a way for people with extra space in their backyards to make money in their spare time. In 2000, rabbit sales accounted for about $16 million in the U.S. This is a pittance compared to the $44 billion value of the beef industry. Because of the niche status of the rabbit production industry, one would expect a bill requiring more stringent inspection of domesticated rabbits sold for human consumption to pass Congress without difficulty. However, quite the opposite proved true. In 1975, H.R. 10073, a bill to provide for the mandatory inspection of domesticated rabbits slaughtered for human food, was introduced into the 94th Congress. By 1977, this bill would be vetoed by President Ford, reintroduced, and vetoed again in the next Congress by President Carter, a member of the opposite political party. What was so controversial about rabbit meat, and what would motivate Carter and Ford, who held opposing political views, to work together against a rabbit meat inspection bill? H.R. 10073 was introduced to Congress on October 7, 1975. The bill would apply the provisions of the Poultry Products Inspection Act to domesticated rabbits intended for human consumption. These provisions included both ante-mortem and post-mortem inspection of rabbits, definitions of sanitary practices, approved containers for transporting rabbits and rabbit carcasses, and prohibited selling rabbits slaughtered in a fashion not approved by the Act. That same day, the bill was referred to the House Committee on Agriculture for consideration. The committee delivered its report on November 3, 1975, citing the fact that rabbit inspection was at present voluntary, and including testimony from the Executive Vice President of the National Association of Federal Veterinarians, predicting that commercial demand would increase should the federal government mandate inspection. The House Committee on Agriculture recommended that H.R. 10073 pass. After passing the House, the bill was sent to the Senate, who referred it to the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Forestry. Their report, delivered almost a year later on September 16, 1976, advocated for passage of the bill without amendment. In the same vein as the House report, the Senate report held that a voluntary inspection program for rabbit meat wasn't enough. Consumers of rabbit meat deserve the same protection as consumers of poultry. On September 30th, the Senate passed a motion to waive Section 402A of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974 with respect to H.R. 10073. This removed restrictions for enacting the bill. The Senate then proceeded to pass the bill. However, once the bill was delivered to President Ford, it was done. Ford pocket vetoed the bill, stating that since the act could cost taxpayers more than 10 cents per pound of rabbit meat, it was not feasible. Since the rabbit meat market was so small, the cost of inspection should be borne by the consumers, not the general taxpayer. But a bill to provide for the mandatory inspection of domesticated rabbits slaughtered for human food wasn't dead yet. It was reintroduced in the 95th Congress. It went through all the cursory steps. The House referred it to committee, passed it to the Senate, who referred it to committee, and then the President after passing the bill. The House and Senate reports contained essentially the same evidence and testimony with updated numbers for 1976. President Carter vetoed the bill, stating that it would not be in the best interest of the American people. That was the end of the bill's journey. But the question remains, why would Congress reintroduce the bill after Ford issued a pocket veto? All of the government agencies that expressed an opinion, including the Department of Agriculture, recommended against passing the bill. Congress's repeated attempts to pass rabbit legislation were likely due to pressure from rabbit industry lobbyists. H.R. 10073 would end the rabbit inspection program paid for by rabbit producers and instead create a rabbit inspection program paid for by the federal government, which would be highly advantageous to a handful of large rabbit production companies. However, the bill would only cost the federal government about $145,000 a year. So why should the president veto such an insignificant bill? The answer? China. In 1977, about 16% of the rabbit meat consumed in the U.S. was imported from China. China would likely refuse to let federal U.S. inspectors inspect their plants, therefore making it illegal to import rabbit meat from China under the Act. This gave the bill the potential to negatively affect relations with China, swaying Carter to veto the bill. Bills that can seem innocuous at first glance may turn out to be far more complex than originally thought. Such was the case with a bill to provide for the mandatory inspection of domesticated rabbits slaughtered for human food. Who would have thought that a bill requiring rabbit inspection could be a foreign policy issue? This has been a Bone Gang Congressional Inquiry. We'll see you next time.